All right, sticking with this AI concentration and portfolio themes that I talked about last week, just saw this chart that examines the top 10 companies in the S&P 500, same hyperscalers, same companies that we're talking about here. They contribute currently to 25 to 30% of the S&P 500 index's overall earnings. So they make up 25 to 30% of the earnings of all 500 companies. However, their market cap, meaning their actual weighting in the index, is over 40%. So there's a discrepancy of almost 10 to 15% between what they make up in actual market value and what their actual earnings are as part of that same index. So interesting, similar type of stat that we've been monitoring for a while now with these large companies. A couple of the themes here that have popped up recently, one of which is in Europe. If you look at how the stock market has performed in Europe broadly, last year, it was finally a great year, finally outperformed the United States for the first time in decades. But not only that, is the style of companies and the sectors of companies that are outperforming in Europe are completely different than in the US. Value-oriented companies, so traditional sectors like financials, mining, those sectors are doing much better in Europe and leading the charge, while in the US, it's the opposite. It's technology, it's growth-oriented companies. There's kind of an interesting dichotomy there. And again, points to having portfolio diversification. The last thing I'll mention, without getting politically charged, is everything going on with Jerome Powell this week, the Trump administration's attempt to subpoena him for criminal charges. It was globally condemned by virtually from politicians to economists to other central bank leaders to former Fed chairs. But you saw this quick sort of sell-off of U.S. assets again. So U.S. dollar lost value, bonds, stocks in the U.S. all sort of lost value. There's a lot to be made of that whole situation that I can give my opinion on. But it's also just a reminder of some of these idiosyncratic risks that can shock our system that no one really sees coming, and just a few different trends that I'm paying attention to right now.